All of that pent-up frustration, animosity, has finally spilled out into the public. NASCAR and 2311 Front Row clashed in court today. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove Instant Reaction. Some crazy quotes are flowing out of the courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina. NASCAR and their attorneys met with 2311 Front Row and their attorneys in front of a judge to argue the team's latest preliminary injunction request. And the banter back and forth quickly turned bitter. According to reporter Kelly Crandall, who was at the hearing, it started out straightforward in arguing over charter status and the harm to the race teams. NASCAR said the teams have no rights to charters, but it got very colorful when documents and messages started being shown. Over the past several months, both sides have engaged in the discovery process, where documents, data, text messages, emails have flown back and forth as both sides search for evidence. Some of the text messages that were revealed today are wild. Starting with this one, Denny Hamlin in a text reportedly said, "My despise for the France family runs deep." How deep, Denny? Tell us how you really feel. Kelly Crandall notes a text from 2311 Steve Lauletta that said, Jim France, NASCAR CEO, dying was, quote, probably the answer in the long haul. Oh my goodness. Now, the whole point of this hearing, the teams were trying to argue why they should be granted an injunction, why they should regain their charter status, why NASCAR should be prohibited from selling any of the charters in question to other teams. And in order to get there, the teams had to prove to the judge that there was at least some likelihood they could win the case in December. Apparently, the team showed text messages between top NASCAR executives that called the final charter agreement that all the other teams signed, quote, the F the teams offer. Pockris did clarify in a later post that the F the teams wasn't an endorsement of the charter draft. It was actually O'Donnell saying that it probably needs to be better for the teams. This was the smoking gun that 2311 and Front Row talked about in previous documents. According to reporter Matt Weaver, NASCAR now commissioner Steve Phelps texted the other executives to, quote, give the teams the contract, pick a date, and sign it or lose their charters. That seems to refer to the infamous deadline that NASCAR reportedly imposed on teams last summer. There is so much here, and I'm no legal expert. It's very difficult to tell which evidence is truly relevant, what evidence will actually support the two sides' respective arguments. I'll mention a few more details here. Reporter Bob Pockris notes that if NASCAR sells one of the charters that 2311 and Front Row bought from Stuart Haas, then 2311 Front Row would get reimbursed for what they paid for them. So that gives us kind of an answer for two of the 6 charters, I guess, that are kind of sort of in limbo right now. I want to read a few of these closing comments because I think that really tells us what we need to know today. Again, from Pockris, he reports that the judge had some very strong closing remarks saying, quote, if either party feels certain they are going to win, they are wrong. Per reporter Kelly Crandall, Judge Bell also said if the teams win, NASCAR is going to look very different, and that's a lot of uncertainty for a lot of people. On the team side, Michael Jordan, co-owner of 2311 Racing, briefly spoke to reporters on the courthouse steps following the hearing. Jordan said, quote, I've been a fan of the game for a long period of time. When we first started this process, I said that I want to fight for the betterment of the sport. Even though NASCAR tried pointing out that we've made some money or we've had successful business, that's not the point. The point is that the sport itself needs to continually change for the fans, as well as for the teams, as well as for NASCAR too, if they understand that. I feel like we made a good statement today about that. I look forward to going down in fire. If I have to fight this to the end for the betterment of the sport, I will do that. To the end, Michael Jordan says. And one thing he referenced in there, it was reported last week, but confirmed in this hearing, Michael Jordan and his business partner Curtis Polk of 2311 have said that they've made modest profits owning a NASCAR team. That is noteworthy and perhaps is some of the strongest evidence to support NASCAR's side. NASCAR can point to Jordan, Polk, Hamlin and say, wait, you've made money since coming to NASCAR. How does that that make us an anti-competitive, stifling monopoly? We've heard, supposedly, from other owners that it's nearly impossible to turn a profit in the Cup Series and be competitive. Jeff Gordon once said that Hendrick Motorsports hasn't been profitable in a decade. But Michael Jordan, under oath, admitted that 23XI has been modestly profitable, at least for him. That's noteworthy. But I think those text messages between Steve Phelps, Steve O'Donnell, Lisa France Kennedy, Jim France himself, admitting that one of the final charter drafts was not favorable to the race teams, that could be strong evidence that supports the team's claims. Is it the smoking gun? I'm not sure I'd go that far. Again, this is where I remind you I am not a legal expert, but it's certainly an acknowledgement by NASCAR leadership that as negotiations went on last summer, by the end, some of the terms that had been more favorable to the teams had certainly been taken out of the final agreement. That seems to be admitted in these texts by NASCAR leadership. Is that in and itself evidence of illegal activity? I have no idea. According to reporter Adam Stern, the teams also presented this document in court today that appears to show NASCAR's interest in purchasing SMI. They already own ISC. SMI, they would own almost all of the tracks on the Cup schedule. Denny Hamlin, who of course was at the hearing, just posted on social media, quote, "My lawyer said don't tweet, so this is me not doing that. Hope everyone had a great day." Denny Hamlin always stirring the pot. Yeah, I can't speak to the legal details, really. I'm not qualified. I can speak, though, to the human element of this back and forth. Just reading these messages, reading these reports, this is personal. Michael Jordan said it himself. He will take this to the end if he has to. He's willing to go down in fire, he said. I mean, I guess it's obvious. Steve Lauletta of 23XI literally said that, they can only move forward when Jim France dies. Like he is the kingpin standing in the way of stock car racing and future progress. I mean, that's certainly dark, but we know from reports last year that teams were frustrated with Jim France's lack of transparency. He refused to budge, even debate the idea of permanent charters for the race teams. Wouldn't even address it. Denny Hamlin saying he despises the France family in a text. Whew, that is spicy, no doubt. This feels personal, and when things get personal, it's hard for things to get settled. Like Michael Jordan says, this will likely go to the end, to the December 1st trial date. Much of what has been redacted, shielded from public view up to this point will be exposed in the courtroom in December. It feels like as an industry, everyone is just heading straight for the cliff. Judge Bell, in this case, Judge Kenneth Bell, who's overseeing much of this, seemingly has warned the teams multiple times, hey, this is going to get ugly. There's going to be a lot of messy stuff that gets made public. No one should feel confident that they're going to win this. There's plenty of time still to turn this ship around, yet they continue to careen towards the ledge. He says that NASCAR, if they lose, will not look the same. I think based on their statements earlier this week, if the teams lose, there's a real chance they're not in the sport at all. They're out of business, at least if their own words are to be believed. So no matter the outcome, if this goes to trial, it's not great for anyone, in my opinion. There's no way everyone comes out of this feeling okay. At least I don't think so. So that's all I can really say. Legal stuff aside, the human element, there is real disdain, animosity, intensity here. And that's going to continue and likely only ramp up as we get closer and closer to December 1st. As for this injunction, Judge Bell will likely rule on it in the next week or so, he said. So we'll find out soon if the teams get to retain their charter status for the remainder of this year. Will there be rules placed on NASCAR preventing them from selling or transferring charters in the meantime? We'll have to wait and see, but we talked about that in one of my videos a couple days ago. You can watch that one if you missed it. That's my instant reaction to all this crazy news. Let me know down in the comments below what you think, and we'll talk about this again very, very soon. Have a great rest of your day, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by.